What's going on, everyone? You are welcome to Web Chrony Online YouTube channel. In this tutorial, we are going to dive into the exciting world of web development as I guide you through creating a contact saving app using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Our main focus for today's tutorial will be on creating a beautiful and user-friendly UI that allows you to add new contacts. But that's not all. We will take it a step further by incorporating the power of local storage to ensure that data obtained persists. Before we dive into the practical coding, let's take a moment to get a sneak peek at what we will be working on, how this contact saving app will function, and what you can expect from this tutorial. By the end, you will have a fully functional contact saving app, and you will also gain a solid understanding of local storage in web development. But that's not all. This is just the beginning of our journey. We will continue to develop and enhance this app in subsequent tutorials, adding more functionalities and features. So, if you are excited about web development and want to take your skills to the next level, make sure to stick around for our future videos. So, let's roll up our sleeves and dive into the wonderful world of web development as we create this beautiful app together. Don't forget to hit on the subscribe button if you are not subscribed, and leave a like on this video if you learn a thing or two. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at this app. Okay guys, so this is a very beautiful, simple app that has a couple of functionalities. For example, I have some contact list showing right here, and I have a search box, and what the search box helps us to do is to filter through the array of contacts. So for example, as I start typing, it will filter all the contact that begins with the letter that I type. So for example, as I typed the letter M, we now have Mark Mason, Matthew Samuels, and then Mike Jones. If I go ahead and add the I, only Mike Jones is now showing. Okay, if I type something that does not exist, then it returns an empty list. Okay, but the good thing is that as I clear the characters that I type inside of the search box, it goes back and then bring in the data that matches the description that we type inside of the search box. And if I clear everything, it takes me back to the beginning, and all the contact items or lists are displayed like that. Okay, and as I scroll, the search box stays like that, it doesn't move. Okay, it's only the contact items that move. Then also we have the create new contact link here. As I click it, it will take me to the create new contact page, and I can go ahead and create a new contact. So for example, if I try to save a contact without providing any of the data and I try to save, it will give an error, or let me say an alert that says that provide data for all fields. So let's say I want to add a new contact, and this contact is for, let's say, Jamie, and then the second name is Lannister. Okay, let's give some random number for the phone, and let's say Jamie at gold.com like this. And then when I click save, it gives an alert that says that contact has been added, and when I click OK, it will redirect me to the home page. And as I browse through the contact list, you see that Jamie has been added right here. And if I type J, all the contact list that has letter J as the beginning will show. So we now have Jamie Lannister and Jon Snow. If I go ahead and add the O, it's now Jon Snow showing. If I clear the O, Jamie and Jon Snow comes again, and if I type A, it's now showing only Jamie Lannister. So basically guys, this is what we will be doing, and as I said earlier, we will continue to improve this app in subsequent tutorials. Okay, so guys, if you are enjoying it so far, make sure you leave a like on this video and click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. Now let the tutorial begin. Okay guys, so I already have created this app, and then what I need to do is to take you through the step-by-step process of recreating this app. Okay, so as we always do, I'll come here and I create a couple of new files. Okay, so I'll click on this icon and call this one index2.html like this. I'll go ahead and also create index2.css, and finally we will create index2.js. okay, so I'll hit enter for all these files to be created. And as we have always been doing, what I will do is to come to the index2.html. I will type the exclamation and hit enter for the image to do the rest for me. Now let's first of all change the title to contact saving app, like this, and then also link the CSS and the JavaScript. So I will create a link tag here, and I will link the index2. So I'll select this one, and for the sake of what we are going to do, I would like to keep the script tag inside of the body tag. So I'll come here and create my script tag, and inside the opening tag I will type my src, and then I will link the index2.js like this. okay, so now let's take a look at the app one more time, and then as you can see we have some icons in there. Let me go full screen. We have some icons in there, so all we need to do is to go to CSS, look for font awesome, and then link it inside of the head tag of our HTML. So I'll open a new tab and then type cdnjs.com. Now that the cdn.js.com has opened, I will type here font awesome, and then the font awesome that I want, this is it. So I click on it like this to open the link, and what I need to do is to copy the link tag. okay, so I'll click on this icon to copy the link tag, and inside of the head tag immediately after the title I will paste it right here. okay, great. So now what do we do? Let me just create an h1 element that says hello world, and then click on the go live to display what we have done so far. okay, so our hello world is printed here successfully. Now let me walk you through the app one more time so that we will see what we will be doing. So the first thing is that we will have a main container for the entire screen, and after the main container we will have the top container and then the bottom container. Inside the top container we will have our search box, or let me say search container, and inside the search container we will have this icon here, the search input, and then this icon here. We will not use it for anything, but at least if it is there, it makes it looks a bit nice. Then inside of the bottom container we will create this create new link, and after that we will create a container, and inside that container we will have our contact list items in it. Okay guys, so let's begin. Now I will clear this hello world from it, and as I said earlier, we will create a main container like this, and inside the main container we will create a top container. So I'll have my top container, and inside the top container we will create our search contact form. okay, so search contact form. okay, and inside the search contact form I will have an icon, an input, and another icon. So let's head over to Font Awesome for some icons. So here I'll type Font Awesome. If I remember, I'll put the link in the description of the video. Okay guys, so now the Font Awesome has opened, and what I'm looking for is this magnifying glass. okay, so I'll come here and then type search like this, and of course I want the free one. okay, so this is the one that I want. I will just click on it like this. I will scroll down and click on this to copy the snippet. okay, so I'll come in here and then paste the snippet inside of my search contact form. I will also go ahead and add an extra class name for it. I'll call it search icon. Now after creating the first icon, I'll create an input, and I'll give this input a class name of search input. okay, so search input, like this, and then I'll have a placeholder that says search contact. Okay, so search contact like this. Let me add s to it and save, and afterwards I'll add the second icon, which is something like a microphone. Okay, so I'll come here and then I'll click here and then type mic. Okay, like this, and then this is the mic that I'm looking for, so I'll click on the microphone and click on the snippet to copy it, and I will paste it right here. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we have done so far and then begin the styling. All right, so I'll open the index2. Let me bring it right here, index2.css. Now the first thing is to have a default style for all the elements. Okay, so as we already know, we put the asterisk to represent every element in the HTML file. Okay, so I'll come here and then I'll set margin to 0. I'll also set padding to 0. I'll set box sizing to border box, so that if I add padding, it will be included or added to the width and height that I set for the element. Okay, then I will also set a list style to none, and I will also add a text decoration and set it to none as well. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is that I don't want an overflow on the body of the HTML, so I will just type here body, and I don't only want that for the body, but I also want that for the HTML, so I'll bring a comma and type my HTML like this, HTML. Okay, and then what I'll do is to set overflow to hidden, and what this will do is that if it overflows the current screen size, it shouldn't scroll. Okay, it should remain hidden. All right, now let's target the main container, and then let's see how it turns out to be. So I'll just come here and then I'll copy the main container like this, and the first thing that I'm going to do, so I'll paste it right here. The first thing that I'm going to do is to give a width of 100 view width, and I'll also give a height of 100 view height. Okay, then the next thing that I want to do is to set display to flex. By the way, I want the flex direction to be column, so I'll type flex direction and set a value to column. I will align the items at the center, and then I will also set overflow to hidden. Okay, so let's look at the app one more time, and then okay, this is the app. Let me refresh like this. What's going on here? Okay, I guess we should give it a background, because when we take a look at the original app, the background color of the main container is black. Okay, so let's do that. I'll say BG and hit enter to give us that black background color. So let's look at the app. Okay, good. Now the next thing to work on is the top container. Okay, so I'll come here and then I'll copy the top container like this, and then under the main container I will first of all give a background color, but then for the sake of time I would like to be copying the color from the one that I've already done to ensure consistency. Okay, so this is the color code 2B2C2C. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is to set display to flex. I want a gap between the items inside of the top container. Okay, so I'll set gap of 15 pixels like this. I will align the items in the center. I'll give a width of 100%. I want you to take the entire width. Okay, Then the next thing is that I want the colors of the element inside of the top container to be white, so I'll set color to white. Okay, then also I want it to have a width of 70 pixels. Okay, so as you can see here, the width is 70 pixels. So let me come here and set width of 70 pixels, and because I don't want it to scroll along, I'll set the position to static. Okay, like this. Now let me save. So let's look at what we have done so far. Really nothing really beautiful here. Wait, 100%. Why is this thing not working? Okay, perhaps I don't need a gap. And then okay, yeah, it's because I set weight, so it should be height instead. Okay, like this. Now let's see. Okay, very good. Okay guys, so the next thing to do is to work on the search contact form. Okay, so I'll come here and copy the search contact form like this, and then I'll paste it right here. So now what I'm going to do is that I want the search contact form to have a height of 40 pixels. I want it to have a width of 100%. I want to give it a padding of 0 at the top and bottom, and then 15 at the left and right. Okay, then the next thing that I want to do is to also give it a border radius. So I'll set border radius to about 20 pixels like this. Now let's see what we have done. Okay, now we can't see anything yet. I think we should give it a background color, so I'll just copy this one from what I've already done in order to save us time. The color code is 4B 4B 4B. Okay, great. So yeah, now let's see. Okay, everything is okay, but when we look at the original one, we had some padding around display, so let's do just that. So I'll give a padding of 20 pixels here. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, seems the 20. Okay, sorry, shouldn't be inside of the contact form, it should rather be in the top container like this. Okay, so yeah, everything looks better now. Let's look at this. I think it looks okay. All right, so now the next thing we need to do is to set the display flex, align them in the center, and then we do with the rest. Okay, so let me do just that. I'll set the display to flex, align items in the center, and then yeah, I think we will hold on for now. As and when we need to get back to it, we do that. Okay, so now let's target the search input. Okay, so let me come here inside of the index2.html. I'll copy the search input from here, and then I will paste it from here. Okay, so first of all, I would like the weight of the search input to take the remaining space after the two icons here. Okay, and the way to do it is to set the weight to 100%. Okay, so let's see. Now it is there. Now I don't want the background color there, and I also don't want the outline. Okay, so let's do just that. So I will remove the outline by setting outline to none. I will also remove the border by setting border to none. I will also remove the background color by setting it to transparent. Okay, like this, and then I will also allow some space between the two icons. Okay, so I'll give some padding inside of the search input. Okay, so I'll set the padding top and bottom to 0, and then the left and right to about 15. Okay, so let me say 15 pixels, and then save. Now let's see. Okay, now this looks very nice. Okay, great. So now we are done with the top and the search container. Now coming up is the bottom. Don't go away. Okay guys, so I can go ahead and then compress the top container so that I can have enough space to work on the bottom container. So now I'll create my bottom container and hit enter, and inside the bottom container we will have a link, and after the link we will have contact container. Okay, so let's do just that. So the link will also have its own container, and I'll call this container create link container. Okay, and inside this container I'll create a link, an anchor tag, and give it a class name of create link, and hit enter like this. Okay, and then inside this one I'll give an href. At the moment let me just put it as slash, and here I'll have to put in an icon. So at font awesome again I will type here person, and the person that I'm looking for is person plus. Okay, yeah, this is it. So it's called user plus. I will click on it like this, click on the snippet to copy it, and I will paste it inside like this. And I will also have the text that says create new contact. Okay, so I'll save it. Now let's see what we have done. Okay, nothing pleasing, but we will get there, don't worry. Now we will go ahead and also create a contact container, and inside the contact container we will create each contact. Okay, so now let's do that. So immediately after the create link container, let's make it create new contact container. Okay, so create new contact. I think it makes sense this way. Okay, and inside the link it should rather be create new contact link. Okay, your class name should be meaningful and descriptive. So create new contact link. Okay, like this. And under this container I will go ahead and create a new container, which will be the contact container. Okay, like this, and then hit enter. So inside the contact container we will create the contact item. So I'll create a new container called contact item. Okay, and inside the contact item, let me show you the contact item. This is the contact item. So we have an icon here, the name and the number. Okay, so I will head on to the font awesome one more time, and still at the user I will want this one. Okay, so I'll click on circle user, I'll click here to copy the snippet, and I will paste it inside of this place. Then afterwards, as you can see here, we have, let me say, user or contact details. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll come here, and then I'll create a new container called contact details, and inside the contact details there is a span, and the first span will be contact name, and let's use John Snow for example, John Snow. and I'll create another span and give this one a class name of contact-form. Okay, and let's give some number here, so this number should do the trick for us. Now I'll save and then get back to the styling. Don't go away. Okay guys, so now let's begin by styling the bottom container. So I will just come here and copy the bottom container from here, and then I'll paste it here. Now the first thing that I want to do is to give it a width of 100%. okay, and then the height, what I want to do with the height is to make it take the remaining space that we have here, and the way we do that is to use the calc method. Okay, so we will calculate the total height and subtract this 70 pixels from it. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll come here and set the height to calc. I'll type 100 VH, which is the view height, minus 70 pixels, like this, and save. Okay, now I like to also give it a background color, and of course I'll copy the background color in order to save us some time. So the background color is 2B 2C 2C. okay, so now let's take a look at it. All right, but then as you can see from here, there is some kind of a margin top. Okay, so that some black line from the main container can show. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll say margin top of about 10 pixels should do the trick for us. Now let's see. Okay, I think 10 is too much. Let's make it 5. 5 should do the trick for us. Okay, I think the 5 is pretty much okay. Now let's continue with the styling of the bottom container. Of course, I want the color of the text inside to be white. Then also I will set the display to flex. Display to flex. I will set flex direction to column. Then also I will set align items to the center. So align items set to the center. Then I'll give a padding of 10 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right. Okay, then also as you can see from the main page, let me show you real quick. As you can see from the main page, when there is an overflow, we are able to scroll. Okay, so let's do just that. So I will set the overflow, and because I want to scroll vertically, I will set the overflow Y. Okay, and set it to scroll like this, so that when we have more contact items that the current screen can accommodate, we can scroll. All right, great. So now that I set this one to scroll, now let's continue. So the next thing that I'm going to work on is the create new contact, what do you call it, how did I call it, create new contact container. So I'll just copy it from here, and then I will paste it here. So I'll bring my full stop and copy and paste it, and inside this one, what I'll do is that I want it to have a width of 100%. Take the full screen. I'll set the display to flex. I'll set justify content to center, so JCC center. I'll set align items to the center, so AIC should do the trick for us. Okay, I also want it to have a height of about 40 pixels, and I want to set padding 10 for top and bottom, and then left and right to 0. Okay, so now let's see what we have done so far. Okay, this is it. I want the color to be white, and there should be some gap in between. So let's copy the link. So this is it. Create new link from here, and then let's paste it from here. So I'll paste it here, and what I need to do is to bring this one from here. So I'll press Alt and then down arrow to do the trick for me. So what I'm going to do now is to set a display to flex. I'll set align items to the center, and I should give a gap of about 10 pixels. But before we do that, let me set a font size to 1.2 rem like this, and also set a gap to 10 pixels. So I'll set gap to 10 pixels like this. So now let's see. Okay, this looks pretty much better. Okay, so now we can go ahead and then work on the contact container and the contact item. Okay, so I'll copy the contact container here and then paste it right here. Of course, I want the contact container to take a weight of 100%. I'll set the display to flex, and I'll set the flex direction to column as usual. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do is to start the contact item. So let me come here and copy the contact item from here, and then I will paste it here. So the contact item will have a height of 50 pixels. So 50p should do the trick for me. I will set the display to flex. I will set the align items to the center. I will set a gap of 15 pixels. I will set a margin of 10, and I will want the cursor to be pointer. Okay, so now let's see. I come here, it looks pretty okay, but as you can see from here, when you hover on it, there is this cool kind of thing over there. So I'll just copy this contact item one more time and paste it here, and this time around I will say when I hover on it, okay, I want you to give me that cool background effect. So I'll just copy it from here, I'll paste it right here, and let's see. So I come here and hover on it. Let's see, I guess it should be something like this, and save. And when I come here, as you can see, it works just fine. Okay, great. Yes, so now let's deal with the icon and the details. Okay, so I'll just copy this one, FA circle user, and then I'll give it a font size of about 2 rem. Okay, and it should work just fine for us. Okay, good. Now I will target the contact details. Okay, so I'll copy it from here and I will paste it inside of the index2.css like this. I'll set the display to flex. I'll set the flex direction to column, and then what I'll do is I'll give a gap of about 5 pixels like this. Now let's see. Okay, it looks pretty much awesome. Let's look at the original one. Okay, so we are done with this part. Coming up is creating the new contact page, but before we do that, let me just duplicate this one a couple of times so that we will see how it will look like when we have more contact items. So I'll just copy like this and hit Alt Shift and then down arrow to duplicate it a couple of times. So now let's see. Okay, so as you can see, we scroll, but then the top container stays there because we have set the position to static. Okay, but when we take a look at the original one that we are working on, the scroll looks very neat and beautiful, but here it looks really default. Okay, so let's do with that immediately. So to start the scroll bar, we have a couple of things that we need to target, okay, and we call it the WebKit scroll bar. So all you need to do is to just type the scroll bar like this, and as you can see, we get what we are looking for. And what I want to do is to set a width of 7 pixels for the scroll bar, and then with the background color, I'll just copy it from here and paste it here real quick. Okay, let's type the scroll bar again, and this time around select the thumb like this. So let's set the BG to 000, which is the color code for black, and also give a border radius of 10 pixels. So now let's see. Okay, now as you can see, we can click here and then scroll it like this. I think it looks beautiful now. Now let's create new contact page and then link it to the index2.html. okay, so I'll come here and then click this icon to create my new HTML file, which is create contact to.html like this. So as usual, I will type the exclamation and then hit enter. I will change this one to create new contact. Okay, I'll go ahead and link my CSS to it. So I'll create a link here that will link to index2.css like this one, and save. And don't forget that in order for us to be able to use the icons, we will have to put in the font awesome link. Okay, so this is it right here. I'll just copy everything from here and I will paste it under the title tag. Okay, great. So when we are done with everything, we will include the script to it. All right, great. Okay, so but before we do that, let me go to the one that we are working with and then go to the create new page and see what we have here. So here too, we will have a top container, and the top container will have a link, a title, and a save button. Then we will create this beautiful form as you see right here. So let's do just that. So I'll come here, I'll come to the index2.js and I'll go ahead and link the create contact to.html to it. So let's do just that. I'll click here so that when I come here and click here, it will take me to that page. Okay, so we will also have a main container as usual. So I'll just type my main container. Inside the main container, I will have my top container like this, and inside the top container I will have my create contact. Okay, so I'll just say create contact, and inside the create contact I will have a link which will take an arrow. Let me show it to you real quick. So right here I'll have an arrow which is a link, this H1, and a button. So let's do just that. So inside here, let me go and search for the icon from Font Awesome. So I'll come here and say angle like this, angle, and this is the one that I'm looking for. So chevron left, I'll click it, click to copy the snippet, and I'll create my link. In the meantime, create my left, I'll duplicate it and change this one to right. Okay, we'll get back to each of them. So inside the left, I will have my link, and this link will have an href that will take me back home. So I'll link the index2.html like this, and then I will paste the icon that I copy from the Font Awesome app. Okay, then after the link, I will create an h1 element and give this one a class name of title. like this, and then the title that I want to give is called create new contact, like this. Okay, so we are done with the left, and then let's come inside the right. In the right we will create a button. Okay, yeah, if you want to, instead of creating a right, we can just go ahead and create our button. So I'll just have my button, and this button will have a class name of save-btn, like this. Make sure the correction is done properly, and come back here and hit enter, like this, and I'll have the text save written in this button. Okay, so let's see what we have done so far. Nothing beautiful here yet, but then we will get there. All right, okay guys, so now let's begin by styling this container here. We have already styled the main container and then the top container, so let me just come here and then paste it right here. Inside the create container, I want it to have a weight of 100%. Let's just take every weight. I will set the display to flex. I will set the align items to the center, and I will set the justify content to space between. Okay, like this. Now let's see. Okay, so now we have it like that. Now let's work on this one, which is the left. Okay, so I'll come here and copy the left like this, and inside of the index2.css I will set display to flex AIC center, and I think I should give a gap of about 10 pixels. Should do the trick for me. So now let's see. Okay, now we have it. I just have to change the color of the icon to white as well, and also increase the font size. So let me come here and just copy what do you call it, the class name of this icon, and then come in here, and then I'll change the font size to 1.5 rem, and then the color I will change it. I'll just copy it here. So the color code is 1697F3. okay, it's bluish in color, so we have it right there. I think I should also change this h1 element, so let's do just that. So this h1 element has a class name of title. I'll copy the title from here, and inside my CSS I'll paste it right here. Now the title will have a font size of 1.4 rem. I'll change the font weight, so font weight to about 300, and the font family should be sans serif. So let me just clear this one. Should be font family. Okay, it's font family like this, and save. So now let's see. Okay, everything looks beautiful. Now let's do with the button. So I'll come here. The button has class name of save-btn, so I'll copy it real quick, and then I'll paste it here. I'll set bg to transparent. I'll remove the border and set it to none. I will increase the font size to 1.2. It should be rem, not just em. Okay, then also I will change the text from its current font to uppercase, so text transform to uppercase. Now let's see. Okay, the color should also change. It should take the color of the angle that we have right here, so I'll just copy it from this place and then paste it here and save. Okay, now everything looks all right. I have to also change the cursor to pointer. Okay, so let's do this, that cursor to pointer. Okay, now the next thing for us to do is to create this beautiful form. Okay guys, so this form will have a main container, and inside the main container we will have form container, which will have an icon and then 2 inputs. So I'll go to my create contact, and immediately under the top container I will create my bottom container. Okay, so I'll come here and create my bottom container, and inside the bottom container I will create my add form container or add contact container. So add contact container. Okay, and inside this add contact container I will create my form input container. So form input container. Okay, and inside the form input container I will have an icon and 2 test input. Okay, but the test input should also be in a different container so that we can style them properly. So let me head on to font awesome. I'm looking for a user, so let's look at the user. We have the user here. Let's do that. User, and the user that I'm looking for, I'll pick this one. Oops, let me just come back here and click to copy the snippet and paste it right here. And afterwards I will create a new container called input container. So input container, and inside this container I'll create 2 inputs. Each of them will have a class name of add contact container. Okay, like this. Oops, sorry, it shouldn't be container, it should be input. So input. Okay, now this one will have a placeholder which says first name. So first name, and I'll duplicate this one and change this one to last name. Okay, and save it. Now let's see. Okay, so we have the icon here and the 2 different form input here. So now let's start them before we create the second one. So inside here I will first of all copy this add contact form. Okay, add contact form, and then paste it here. Now the add contact form will have a different background, so let me just copy it real quick and paste it right here. So I paste it inside. I want it to take a width of 100%, so let's set width 100%, and then we will also give a padding of 20 pixels and a border radius of 10 pixels. So border radius 10 pixels, and then it should do the work for us. So now let's see. Okay, good. Now we have to target the form input. Okay, so let me just come here and copy the form input container. So I copy it from here and then paste it here. Alright, so now the form input container will have a display of flex, but this time around the align items will be set to start, and then I should give a gap of 10 pixels. Like this should do the work for us. Now let's see. Okay, everything is okay. What we need to do is to work on this 2 input. Okay, and don't forget we have them in a container. So let's copy the class name of the container. I'll just copy it from here, called input container, and the input container I'll paste it here. I'll give a display of flex, but the flex direction will be column. So flex direction will be set to column, and afterwards I will also give a gap of 10 pixels. Okay, but I also want the width to take the remaining space we have here. Okay, so let's set the width to 100%. %, like this. Okay, now the next thing to do is to target the input, and we have a class name of add contact input. I'll copy it from here and I will paste it here. Okay, there should be an A here, and the add contact input, let me show you this one real quick. As you can see, it doesn't have any background color, it only has a border bottom, and once it is on focus, the color changes to blue. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll set the border to none. I will set outline also to none. Okay, then I will set the border bottom, so border bottom here to 1 pixels solid white. So let's remove the background color by setting it to transparent. Okay, afterwards let's set padding of 10. Top and bottom, side and side should be 0. Okay, and the font size of the text in it should be 1.1 rem. Okay, this shouldn't be just white, should be light gray. Okay, so light gray here should do the trick for us. Now let's see. Okay, but then okay, this one should be something like this. Now let's see. Okay, good, now it works just fine. Okay, just as we want it. And let me see, I think this one should also increase a bit. As you can see that this one is quite smaller. So let me go get the FA user. I'll just copy it from here and then I will paste it here. So I'll give a font size of 1.2 rem. It should do the trick for us. Okay, now let's also add the on focus. So I'll just copy the add contact input and paste it here and say when it is on focus like this, I want it to have a different border bottom. So I'll just copy from here and paste it right here. Now let's see. So as you can see, the color is nice like that. Okay, great. Now let's duplicate it and change the icon to a different one. So I'll come here, create new contact 2, and I'll copy this form and duplicate it. Okay, so let's do that, and then let's also look for the icon that says, let's just type contact like this, and the one that I'm looking for is this one. It's called address card. I'll click to copy the snippet. I will expand this one and copy the whole of this and paste. But then let's see something here. As you can see, this one is smaller than this one, and the way that we can solve this is to copy this one and also give it the same size as we did for this one. I'll bring a comma and then paste this one here so that they will all have equal font size. Okay, I'll change the placeholders, so let's do just that. So in here I'll change this placeholder to font, and I'll change this one to email. Okay, so now we are done. So when I click here, it should take me back to the home page. So I click, it takes me to the home page. I click, it takes me to the create contact page. Coming up is adding the JavaScript that brings this web application to life. In the meantime, let me just remove all these duplicates here and make it ready for the JavaScript. So I will just come here, this one, contact container, and then okay, contact item. So I'll just copy from here just copy contact item, another contact item, and I think here should be fine, and save. She left with only one. Okay, there's another one somewhere that needs to be taken care of. This is it. This is it, and I think this should also go. So let's save. Everything is okay now, right? So now let's add the functionalities. Okay guys, so before we begin, let's take a look at the JavaScript if it has been properly linked to the HTML. So I will send in an alert with a message hello, or let me just simply say hi. Okay, now the hi is showing me, indicating that the HTML is correctly linked with the JavaScript. So now let's do a couple of things. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we want to have a contact list. Okay, and like I said, we will be dealing with the local storage. Okay, so let's do just that. I'll create a variable called contact list, and the contact list will come from the local storage. Okay, but before we do that, let me show you where the local storage is. So if you press F12 and the developer console is opened, you can either click on this arrow and select application, and sometimes you may see the application already here. So whichever way it is for you, just click on the application, and as you click the application, you see that we have something we call local storage, session storage, index, db, blah blah blah. You click on this local storage like this, and initially, if this is your first time of opening it, this is how it will look like. Okay, so you click on this arrow here and it will open this web page here for you, and when you click on it, you will have your local storage here. So let me just bring it here like this, and as you can see, we have a key called contact, and the value is what we have here, and that is also displaying right here at the corner. So as you can see, we have Jon Snow and the rest all in this place. Okay, now the way that we access data from this local storage is pretty much simple and straightforward, but then the data must be passed in order to be able to use them, and that is where the JSON comes in. So you type JSON or in caps dot pass like this, and inside a bracket we can go ahead and then get the key of the item or the data stored in the local storage. So I'll type in here local storage dot get item, and inside the parenthesis there is a code, and inside the code we type the key of the item we are looking for. So in this case, the key for the data we are looking for is contact. Okay, so I will type here contact like this. All right, and since this is your first time of doing it, perhaps you may have an empty something, or the contact may not be in existence. So in that case, we will bring in an alternative that if you don't find anything, then assign the contact list to an empty array. Okay, great. Now the next thing we are going to do is to create a new contact. Okay, so let's do the create new contact. This is going to be very interesting, so I encourage you to pay a critical attention to whatever we are going to do here. In the meantime, we need to find a way of accessing the input in the JavaScript. Okay, and the way that I want us to do it is to access the elements by their ID. So I will give this one an ID of first. Okay, then I'll give this one an ID of last. Then I will give this one an ID of font. Okay, and lastly I'll give this one an ID of email like this. Okay, great. Now we will have to get all these inputs so that we can use their value for whatever we want to do. Okay, so back to the index2.js, I will create a function called add contact. Okay, here we are using the arrow function. If you are comfortable with the regular function, you can do that as well. Okay, but then in this tutorial we will use the arrow function. So I'll bring in my arrow like this, and what I'm going to do, is to obtain values from inputs. Okay, input like this. So the first one that I'll call is the first name like this, and I will use the query selector to fetch them. So I'll use my document dot query selector, and because I am selecting the element based on their ID, I'll type my hash and followed by the ID. Okay, so ID value. So here we have the first, and of course I'm not interested in the input, I'm interested in the value, so I'll bring dot value. Okay, like this. Please, it should be dot value, not area value. Okay, so I'll go ahead and duplicate this one and call this one last name like this, and I'll also change the ID from first to last like this. Okay, now the next thing that I will need is the phone. Okay, so I'll type here phone, and I'll change this one to phone, and then I'll make the correction here, and finally I will get the the email. Okay, and I'll change this one to email like this. Okay, now to make sure everything works, I will have to access this button. Where's the button? This button here called save btn, and then when I click it, I should be able to log the input value. Okay, so let me just do that real quick. I'll just copy this one from here, and in here outside of the of course maybe I should do it at the top, so I will just call this one save btn equal to document dot query selector, and because this time around we are selecting the button based on the class name, we will just bring a period followed by the class name, and let me make the correction here, save btn. And what I want to do is that if I click on the btn, meaning I'm going to listen to an event. Okay, so I'll say save btn. I can go ahead and add event listener, and the event that I want to listen to is a click event. Okay, I want to listen to a click event, and after the click event has been triggered, I want to fire this add contact function. Okay, great. Now what I'm going to do now is to alert. I only want to alert the value of the first name so that we will be sure that indeed we are fetching the data. So I'll just come here, I'll go back to full screen, I'll go to create, and then I'll type any random thing here, and when I click here, okay, something wrong. Let's find out what is wrong. Let's go to the console and click. Okay, the reason is that we have not linked the index2.js to this particular file, so let's do just that. Immediately before the closing body tag, I'll create my script with src, and I am connecting the index2.js, okay, and save. Now when I click, it sends in an alert because I've not typed anything yet. Let me go to full screen. Let me just type in some random text, and when I click, the random text will be alerted for me, indicating that we are able to access the value of the input. Okay, cool. Now let's continue. Back to the index2.js. Now after I have been able to achieve or obtain all the data, the next thing to do is to create a new contact. Okay, so I'll say create new contact after obtaining all data. Okay, data, not theta. Okay, so I'll use an if else statement. So I'll bring in an if you remember. If you miss all these things, you can get back to the fundamentals. I have all these lessons covered there. So I'll have an if, and what I want to say is that if there is first name and there is also last name and there is also phone and there is also email, it means that we have all the data that we need. Okay, but before we go on to do something, let's work on the else. Okay, so I'll have an else statement here, and inside the else I will send in an alert that says provide data for all fields. Okay, so let me just save and then try it right here. So now I click, it sends in the alert saying provide data for all fields, meaning everything is working all right. Okay, so now that we have dealt with the else block, let's work in the if block. So inside the if block, we are going to create a new contact. So let's say const new contact is equal to, we want to create an object of new contact. Okay, so I'll call name and we will use the template literals. Okay, so I'll bring in my $sign and then I'll bring in the first name. Out of the first the closing curly bracket, I will bring space and then another $sign and then put in the last name like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is to have the phone like this. So the phone will be the phone and the email will also be the email. Okay, but then when we do it this way, there's nothing really wrong with it. But if the value and then the key have the same name, then you just have to bring one of them. So I can just remove this one and also remove this one, and it will still work just fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is that after I have created the new object, I'm going to add the new object. So add new contact to the contact list array. Contact list array. Okay, using push method. Okay, so we use the push method. All right, let me just make this correction real quick. So what I'll do is that I'll call the contact list array. I'll push the new contact in it. So new contact like this. Okay, now for the sake of this tutorial, I would like to change this one to contact one so that we will be on the same page. Okay, so I do have contact one, meaning I do not have any contact list. So now let me log the contact list for you to see. Console.log contact list. Okay, and then save. Now when I come here and then press F12, as you can see from the console, we have an array with nothing. Okay, an array with length 0, meaning it is an empty array. Okay, and let me also show you the application aspect one more time. So we have in the local storage one key contact and this data in there. Okay, so now that I have pushed the new contact to the contact list array, I can go ahead and store it to the local storage. So let me give a comment that says store new contact, store updated contact to the local storage. Okay, and the way we do that is to stringify it. Okay, if you don't stringify it, you can't store it to the local storage, so you have to stringify the data. So how do we do it? How we do it is very simple. We call the local storage like this. We dot set item. Okay, set item like this, and this set item takes two parameters. First one is the name that we wish to give to the item, and the second one is the data that we wish to store. Okay, so I'll call this one contact 1, okay, in order to have a different thing, and the data that I want to store to this contact 1 is the contact list, but like I said, you have to stringify it. So I'll bring in my JSON dot stringify, and in brackets I will stringify the contact list. Okay, now before we run this code, let me take you through it one more time. So I have a variable called contact list, and the contact list is fetching data from the local storage using the get item. Now the get item is a stringified data, and before we can use it, we will have to pass it, which is why we have the JSON.pass into bracket local storage dot get item and the key of the data that we wish to store. And what we are saying is that if this thing does not exist, okay, if it does not exist, then assign the contact list to an empty array. Now we have the button that would be used to save the contact, and we have a new function here which is meant to store new or to add new contact to the contact list array. Okay, so the first thing is that we get the data from the client, which is the first name, last name, phone, and then email, and afterwards we check if all the data we need are available. If the data we need are available, create a new contact. After creating the new contact, add it to the contact list array, and after adding it to the contact list array, now store the updated contact list to the local storage using the set item method. And like I said, the set item method takes two arguments, the first one being the key for which we can reference the data, and the second one is the data. But again, the local storage cannot store an object directly unless we stringify it, which is why the JSON.stringify is very important. But if in case we fail to obtain any of these data, then we will send in this alert. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add our first contact. So I'll come here, and the first contact that I want to store is John Doe. In the meantime, I want to change the color from black to white so that it will be quite visible. So I'll come here, and inside the input I'll set the color to white. Okay, okay, good. Now we have the Joe. What I want is John Doe. So first name John, let me go full screen. So first name John, last name is Doe, the phone anything random, and then the email we say John Doe at gmail.com. Okay, so I can go ahead and save. Okay, I think what I need to do is to send an alert after saving it in order for us to know that everything is successful. So I'll send in an alert which says contact stored successfully. Okay, something like this. In the meantime, what we just did worked. Okay, and to show that, I'll go back to the application, and as you can see, the contact one is there, and when you click on the contact one, we now have the John Doe, the phone, the email, and everything works perfectly. So we can go ahead and create a new one. So let's say Jane Smith. Okay, I don't know these people, but I just want to use them. I think there is an R here, Jane Smith. Let me increase this one a bit to about 75. Okay, there is no R, I think. And then let's say the phone, something random, and the email, let's say jsmith@gmail.com. and when I add, it says contact stored successfully, and when I click OK, as you can see, the Jane Smith has also been added successfully. Okay guys, so at this point, what we are going to do is how we will display the contact that we have obtained from the local storage in our home page. It's going to be a little bit scary, but I know we will sail through it successfully. Okay, so inside of the index2, I will create another function that will help us to display contact. Okay, so now let's work on it. Now I will just come here and call this one display contact. Okay, display contact, and then I'll just bring in my arrow like this, and then we go ahead and do it. So now what we are going to do is that, let me show you this thing. No, I think the index2. Okay, let me show you the index2. Now instead of this, we are going to create the whole of this using JavaScript. Okay, remember in the previous, I think last two tutorials, we learned how to use JavaScript to create elements and add properties or attributes such as class name. Okay, that is exactly what we are going to put into practice here. So we use JavaScript to create this particular what do we call it, container. Add class name, we create this icon, we add a class name, we create this container, we add a class name, and the rest will follow. Okay, now let's do that. So what we are going to do is that inside of the index, we will take a parameter of the contact list. So I'll type here the contact list, and what I'm going to do is that I will fetch this container, because at the end of the day, I'll have to join this to this container. So I'll copy this container right here, come in here, and what I'm going to do is very simple. I'll try to access that particular container. So I'll say const container container, let's make it descriptive. So contact container, and then we'll use the document dot query selector, and inside we will use this one, and we will get it right there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I want to sort the contact that I receive from the contact list parameter that has been set. Okay, the argument that will be given to the display content when it is invoked. I want to sort them out so that it will be in order of alphabet. And the way we do that, I will just create a new variable called sorted list. Okay, and I'll call the contact list, which will be an array which has been passed as parameter here, and then I'll call the sort method. Okay, now inside the sort method there will be two parameters, so A and then B. You can call it any name of your choice, but I think A and B is more conventional. And what I mean by conventional is that this is what most programmers use. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I want to return the a.name. Okay, don't forget that the A and B will be objects inside the array. Don't worry, I'll explain it further to you. And if the a.name is greater than b.name, then I want you to return 1. Otherwise, return -1. Okay, so what is happening here is pretty simple. We say that loop through the contact list array and compare the first two. If the name has an alphabet that must come before the second one, then bring it up, and afterwards compare it to the next one. So after every comparison, it will organize them in order of alphabet. Okay, if you want to organize them in ascending order, then when this one returns true, you should return 1, otherwise you should return -1. But if you wish to do it other way around, is either you change this one to a less than, or the -1 will come here and the 1 will come here. Okay, so now after everything, I can either use the for each or the map method. So let me go ahead and give in some comments. So sort contact list. Okay, and after sorting contact list, I will say map through sorted list and create children element. Okay, so now let's do that. So the first element that I'm going to create, let me show you this thing again. I'll create this element, in fact every element we see inside of the contact container will be created. So now let's do that. I'll come here and I'll create my first element. So let's create the element one after the other. So I'll call this one const contact item, and I'll use document dot create element. Okay, and the element that I want to create is a div. Okay, now after creating the div, I will add class name to it. So I'll call the contact item, I'll say dot class list. Okay, the last time I didn't mention this, but we have something like this, class list dot add, and inside bracket I can go ahead and add as many class lists as I want, separating each one of them by comma. Okay, so in order to ensure that the CSS works just fine, I'll just copy it from here and then paste it in. Okay, so now I have created the div or the container and I have added a class name to it. Okay, now the second one that I'm going to work on is the icon. So I'll just copy the class names, and inside here I'll create the icon. So I'll just say const icon, or you can just simply say I, but I think icon makes a lot of sense. So I'll use my document dot create element, and inside this the element that I want to create is an I, and I'll call the icon okay, there shouldn't be a dot here. I'll call the icon dot class list dot add, and inside this bracket I'll paste everything here. But then, like I said, you should separate each of them by a comma, so it should be something like this. Okay, great. Now the next one that I'm going to create is this container called contact details. Okay, so I'll come here and I'll say const contact details, and I'll set it to document dot create element, and the element that I want to create is also a div, and then inside this div I will give a class list. So let me just call the contact details dot class list dot add, and the class name is this, as simple as that. Now the next one that I'm going to create is the span. Okay, and the span will have a class name of contact name. Okay, so let's do just that. So I'll come here, const name equal to document dot create element, and the element here is a span. Okay, now I can go ahead and add my class. So class list dot add, and the class name is contact name. I'll quickly duplicate this one and call this one phone, and it's also a span, and here is contact phone, like this. Great. Now let's come back to the index2.html. Now as you can see, this span has some text in it, and this one too has a text in it, so we have to also add text using the JavaScript. Okay, so inside here I'll call the name, and if you remember, we said we can use inner HTML or inner text to add text to an element. Okay, in this case the inner text works pretty well for us. Okay, so I'll say name dot inner text equal to it will be, okay, we haven't started the mapping yet. Okay, I think we should do the mapping so that it will help us to, you know, put in the items. Okay, so let me just comment out this one, and then I'll say contact list dot map. Okay, and what I'm going to map through is every contact inside of the contact list. I'll bring in my arrow and I will return this. So I'll put everything that I've done so far inside of the map. Okay, and save like this. Let's see, const. Okay, yeah, it should rather be, let me just undo this, it should rather be curly bracket. Okay, so I'll just hit enter and then push everything here inside and save. Okay, everything is okay now. So I'll get back here and then uncomment this one, and what I want to do is that every contact inside of the contact list, I want to assign the contact dot name to the inner text of this name element that has been created. Okay, so I'll say contact dot name like this. Okay, then I'll also do the same for the phone. So I'll come here and say phone dot inner text equal to contact dot phone. Okay, great. Now we have this thing done. Now the next thing we need to do is to append them. So let's take a look at this one here. These two spans are child element to this particular container, and this container and then the icon are children element to the div contact item. So let's do just that. Okay, so I will come here and put the phone and the name to the contact details array. Okay, so let me say append child element like this. Now let's do that. So I will call the contact details, which is this one, and then I will append the name and then the phone. So the name comes first by a comma, then the phone follows. Okay, like this. Now we are done with this one. Now the next thing to do is to append the contact details and then the icon to the contact item. Okay, so let's do that. So I'll call the contact item, which is this one, dot append, and what I want to append is the contact details and the icon. I think the icon comes first. Let me take a look at it again from the original. Let's go home. Okay, the icon comes before this one. Okay, so let's do just that. So the icon and the contact details. Okay, so that is what we have done. Now how do we want this particular display contact to be triggered or called? We want it to be called once we load the page. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to have a window dot onload. Okay, that is a window event, and I will call the display contact, but don't forget that we gave it a parameter, meaning if we are invoking it, we should give it an argument. Okay, and the argument that I wish to give is this contact list array. So let's take it back down here and then paste it right here and save. Now let's see if it will work for us. So I come here and we have John Snow here, and don't forget that okay, we should have John Doe and Jen Smith. All right, let's see what is going on. In the meantime, I will have to comment out these ones because we will not need them. The JavaScript will do the work for us. Okay, so let's look at the console. If there is a problem, cannot read property of null line 26. Okay, let's get back to the index2.js. So with the index2.js, let's take it again. All right, I think it's supposed to be sorted. Okay, sorted list. Okay, and now let's see. Okay, nothing, it didn't work. All right, let's find out why it didn't work. I just found out why this code is not working. That's because instead of putting contact list as argument to the display contact function, we rather put contact details. So now let's make the changes to contact list instead, and now let's refresh the page. It still doesn't work. Window dot onload equal to display contact. What's going on here? Oh, okay, now the reason why it's not working is because after we have done everything, we have to also append everything. This contact item, we have to append it to the contact container. Okay, so I'll copy the contact container here and then I will paste it here, and now I will append child. Okay, and we will now append the contact item to it. So contact item here, and then save. And now we have the Jane Smith and the John Doe. Okay, great. So now let's go ahead and add a new contact, but before we do that, I commented out this one. I will uncomment it out, and in here, after everything, I want us to redirect back to the home page. Okay, so what we will do here is that we will set the window.location.href, okay, and set it to /index2.html. okay, so after we have added everything, we should redirect back to the index.html. But before we do that, let me take my time and walk you through this code one more time, the display contact. Now what is happening here is that we have an arrow function called display contact, and we have the contact list as parameter in it. Okay, now that we have the contact list as parameter, what is happening here is that we fetch the contact container, which is the container in which the contact items will display, and we said that the contact list that will be passed to this particular function when we invoke it, sort it in order of alphabet. After sorting it, map through each contact in the contact list and create a contact item container, give it a class name of contact item, create an icon and give it a class name of this, create contact details, give a class name of this, create name and phone containers, give them this class list, and then assign the contact name to the name and the contact phone to the phone. After everything, append the name and then the phone to the contact details. After that, append the icon and then the contact details to the contact item, and after that, append the contact item to the contact container. After that, call this particular function when the window loads. Okay, so we have the window.onload, and we assign it to the display contact, and the argument for it is the contact list that we have declared from here. Okay, we are either fetching it from the local storage or we are assigning an empty array. Okay, so that is what we are doing basically. So let's refresh this page. Okay, there is an error. We can add line 27. Let's see what's happening at line 27. Okay, that's because it's trying to find a button there, but we don't have a button. Okay, to keep everything safe, let's send this code to the top. So I'll cut this one from here and then put it before the save btn. Okay, so I'll save it like this, and now it works. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add a new contact. I'll come here, and the new contact that I want to add, let's give it a name. First name of John, the second name of Snow, the phone is some random number, and the email is johnsnow@hbo.got. okay, now I can go ahead and add. Okay, now another reason is that you see there is an error here, so in order to cut everything short, let's split the code. Okay, I'll just cut everything here and create a new JS file called contact. Let's make it create2.js like this, and then I'll paste everything here, but don't forget to bring in the contact list variable. Okay, so I'll have it here and then paste it here. Okay, then also don't forget to link this one inside of the contact too. So I'll come here, and instead of index2, I'll call in the create2 like this and save. Okay, so now everything is all right, no error message here, and when we come here to no error message. So now let's go ahead and add Jon Snow. So I have my John Snow and some random number, and we have jsnow at hbo.got like this, and then click save. Now the thing has been added successfully, and don't forget we added a new line of code that says redirect us back to the home page. So I click on the home page, and now the Jon Snow has been added successfully. So guys, we have done it. Okay, now if you are wondering why I have this beautiful iPhone layout here, I had a video on that, on how to make the best use of your Chrome browser, but in case you didn't watch it, go check it out and learn how to do it. Now let's also see it on full screen. It looks pretty awesome. Okay, now let's quickly add the search functionality so that we can call it a day, and we will do this one inside of the index2.js. but before we do that, we need to access the search input. So let me expand this one, and then this is what I'm looking for, which is search input. So I'll copy it here. Okay, and in here, where is it? Index2. I'll create a new variable. So const search input equal to document dot query selector. Okay, the dot didn't come. Dot query selector, and I'll fetch this one. So what I'm going to do is to create a function that will take care of the search. So I'll create my function called search, and it's an arrow function. It will take the event. If you remember, when the previous video we did something about event. Okay, so it will take the event object as a parameter, and inside here what I'm going to do is that I'm going to declare a new variable called filtered list. Okay, so I'll say let filtered list equal to contact list dot filter. Okay, I'm going to filter the contact list, and this is how the filter method works. It takes contact. Okay, for every contact inside, find out if it begins with the value of the search input. Okay, so let's do that. I will say for each contact, find out if the contact dot name, okay, start with dot start with into bracket e dot target dot value. Okay, now let me save like this, and after that I will call the display contact. Okay, so I'll call my display contact, and the argument, don't forget that the display contact must always have an argument. So I'll call my display contact, and the argument here is the filtered list. Okay, like this. Okay, so why is this giving me? Okay, this one should come out. Okay, this one should come out, and then now I save, everything works all right. So let me walk you through this particular code one more time. I have this search input here, and that is the search input that users can type in, and I have a function called search, and what is happening here is that I've taken the event object from the search as parameter, and what is happening here is that I want to filter through the contact list array and look for contacts that has their name starting with the values that will be typed inside of the input. Okay, and any of them that matches the description or that begins with the text in the input should be added to a filtered array, and this filtered array should be passed as argument into the display contact. Okay, so I'll call this and add the event listener. So I'll search input dot add event listener, and the event that I want to listen to is the key app event. Remember when we were treating event in the previous lesson, key app event, and on the key app event I want to call the search add event listener. Okay, like this. Good. So now it should work just fine. Let me just refresh the page. The error is gone. So I type J, all of them begins with J. Okay, now take a look at what is happening here. You see that everything is is being added to what was already there. We have only 3 items in the array, but look at the items we have here. We have Jane Smith, John Doe, John Snow, Jane Smith, John Doe. Everything is, so the way we can do this is to come to the display contact. Okay, now where is my display contact? This is my display contact. Okay, I'm adding everything to the distance, but I have to set the initial value of this to empty, so that when I do something new it will not continue from there. So where is it? This is it right here. I'll copy it like this, and then I'll paste it here and say inner HTML and set it to empty. Okay, empty string. So now I refresh, everything is okay. I type J, now all of them have J. I type A, now we have Jane Smith there. Okay, but there is a problem here. What if I type small g? You see that everything is gone, and the reason is that JavaScript is case sensitive, and if we wish to match something, then it should match it exactly. But then as developers, it is our duty to make the work of our users very easy. No need to stress the user by letting them pressing shift before they can type something because they want to set a contact list. So we have to take care of the hassle and make the client find it easy to use our app. Is that okay? And you see, as developers, we know what our app can do, but we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the user so that we can tailor our apps to suit them the most. Okay, so what we will do is that inside of the search, what I'll do is that instead of just doing the name directly, I can transform all the text to lowercase. Okay, so instead of just doing this, I'll just clear this and say return all the contacts which has their contact dot name all to lowercase. Don't forget the lowercase is camel case. Okay, so lowercase, and it is also a method, so it should bring a parenthesis. Then start with. Okay, then e dot target target dot value dot to lowercase again, so that there will be that kind of straight comparison. Okay, so now when I come here and now I type J with small letters, okay, I think I should reload the page. I type J with small letters, we have all of them waiting. A, now we have the Jane Smith. I clear the E, then the Jane, everything comes back. I clear everything comes back. Okay guys, so the video is longer than I expected it to be. I thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. Next time we meet on this tutorial, we will add more functionalities, example checking to see if a number or a contact has already been added, and also how to edit some contact. Okay, so thank you very much once again for watching this video. If you are not subscribed to this channel, kindly click on the subscribe button in order not to miss the next episode. Until I meet you again, peace out.